Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about cockatiel care. Now I have two cockatiels called Chip and Fish. They are brothers and they're quite mischievous. They're going to be flitting around in the background of this video. Now cockatiels are actually members of the cockatoo family, which does make them a parrot. I have had some people try and start arguments with me before that cockatiels are not parrots. They definitely are parrots. And as I said, they're members of the cockatoo family. And this means that they have a powdery down dust all in their feathers, which is totally normal. Some people get a little bit concerned when they first see it, but it's perfectly normal. But it does mean that if you have any kind of respiratory problems, then cockatiels might not be the best pet for you because they produce a lot of dust. Now we have an air purifier. I highly recommend getting one if you have cockatiels. I'll leave the link to the one we have in the description. But they produce so much dust that you can just see it floating around in the air. You get covered in it if they're sat preening on you. As I said, perfectly normal, but it may put you off having a cockatiel as a pet. I'm going to show you what it looks like now. Just a typical kind of fluff up from a cockatiel. Now, despite their small size, cockatiels actually live for a really long time. Usually, on average, around 20 years. Sometimes less, sometimes more. I've heard of cockatiels living into their 30s. So if you are looking for a short-term commitment to a pet, then cockatiels might not be right for you either because they really are a high intensive commitment. Some people try and say that they're easy birds. I would totally disagree on that. They are hard work no matter what people say. They're not necessarily beginner birds or anything like that. I don't really like that phrase because any pet should have full research done into them before you bring them home, and also they need to have the utmost amount of care. Now cockatiels are very social birds. Some people will keep them on their own. If you have loads and loads of time, then sure, that might work for you. But in my opinion, nothing compares to being able to communicate with your own species. So having more than one cockatiel would be ideal. There's a bit of a misconception that if you have more than one bird, that they're going to bond to each other and they're not going to have any interest in interacting with you, which is totally wrong. Our boys absolutely love attention. They're real attention seekers. They love having their pets and their scritches. But they also enjoy spending time together, although they have a bit of a love-hate relationship. Sometimes they fight, sometimes we catch them when they think we're not looking. We see them petting each other, which is really cute. So absolutely, I'd always recommend having more than one, but that does mean that you need more space for them, so that is something to take into consideration. You have to have the amount of space. So in terms of your cockatiel's cage, you want to get the biggest cage you can possibly afford. This might sound a little bit controversial, but if you can only afford a very small cage, a cockatiel might not be the right pet for you because they need a lot of space in order to be able to exercise and also for enrichment opportunities. Now we've got the Liberta Oregon flight cage. It's a fantastic cage, an absolute nightmare to build, but the boys absolutely love it. We've also got a custom perch on top of their cage so they can enjoy utilising the space on top. This is from the Natural Bird product company and it was, as I said, custom made and fantastic. And then if we pan into the cage, I'm going to show you some of the features that are really important for your cockatiel's cage. Now my boyfriend David actually made a whole video about setting up your cockatiel's cage. I'm going to leave a link below and a card up the top in the right hand corner if you want to go and check it out. But a lot of cages will come with dowel rod perches. Now we have one down here which I can show you. And these are not great for your bird's feet if that is all they have in their cage, because it doesn't give your birds a chance to exercise their feet. They're all the same width all the way across. So we actually have loads of different kinds of perches in here which are fantastic for your cockatiel's feet. We again had custom perches made by the Natural Bird product company, and it's a really long perch which mimics the dowel perch, but it's got loads of different widths all across and it's all made from natural materials. We also have sisal rope. Sisal is fantastic. You'll see a lot of cotton rope available on the market, but there is a lot of risk of cockatiels chewing them and then ingesting the cotton rope, which is an absolute no-no. So we've got the sisal rope. You can also use jute rope. We also have loads of forked perches all around the cage, which allows them to hop around and explore new areas and play with different toys. Now these were absolutely amazing because I think they're £1.49 each on Amazon. I'll leave a link to those below as well. And they're brilliant because they're so cheap, but they're made out of natural materials and they've got loads of different textures which are great for your bird's feet too. Now, as well as having loads of different perches in your bird's cage, you also want to have a fantastic range of toys. Now, we always try and go for loads of natural toys that the birds can shred because parrots are natural shredders. So we've got a variety of toys in here today and I switch them out every single day to keep it interesting. So all of these colourful ones are from Rosewood, the Woven Wonders range. They're all made of natural materials, they're fair trade and they're a great price too, so I highly recommend those. In the US they are made by Planet Pleasures. And then we also have loads of toys from Northern Parrots, who we absolutely love. And then we have balsa wood toys with loads of natural materials from the Natural Bird Product Company as well. So a variety of toys, and switching them up is what's important to keep your birds happy and healthy. So the other important thing to remember when choosing your bird's cage is to make sure that the bar spacing is correct. Now, the right bar spacing for a cockatiel's cage should be 5/8 of an inch. I'll leave a lot of information in the description for you to go and make loads of choices. But if you have a bar spacing that's too big, your cockatiel is going to be able to get its head through it, and you definitely don't want that. And a lot of cages also come with bars on the base of the cage, and I fully disagree with that. I don't know why cage manufacturers still do that. It's really bad for your bird's feet. So we take that out, we modified it to make sure that we could use the base of the cage, and we fill it with Easy Bed, which is natural and safe, dust-free extracted bedding. And having this space here without the bars means that the birds have a fantastic, amazing amount of space that we can utilise for enrichment and floor toys. Now, I also had to do a cheeky little mention for our merchandise store. We have a Redbubble store and we have loads of amazing designs, all for the flock. So I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go and have a little peek. I've also got a discount code for 11% off if you want to go and have a look as well. And any money that we make from all of these designs goes straight to the birds. So do go and check it out, and let's get back to the video. Now, one of the other misconceptions is that you're a bad bird owner if your birds aren't out 24/7, and I wholeheartedly disagree with that. Your birds can be out all day long, and they can be really getting up to mischief. They can be destroying your home, they can be chewing loads of wires and dangerous things. There are so many dangers in your household, and I actually made a video called Common Dangers in Your Household for Pet Parrots, and I'll leave a card up the top and in the description as well. So in my opinion, anytime in or out of the cage should be enriching. It doesn't matter where they are, they should be having a good time. And that means providing them with toys, play stand like I have outside of the cage. If you are hoping that your parrot is just going to sit out of the cage and sit and look pretty and be quiet all day, then parrots are definitely not the right species for you, because they are noisy and naughty and mischievous and messy. So I would say if you're going to have them out for any amount of time, make sure that it is enjoyable for them. Make sure that they want to do something that you want them to do. For example, we have the play stand. We put some millet in these bowls here, which are their favourite treat, so they can nibble away at that. There's foraging material in there, so they're busy getting their beaks all into that. They've got toys down the bottom there on the bedding, so they're busy doing that, instead of maybe being up on the curtain pole and chewing the wall, which they do like to do when we know that they've been out for kind of an extended period of time. Well, no, when they start going up there and being naughty, that's a time where they can go home and they can have some independent play in their cage, which is adequately spaced for them. They've got plenty to do in there. Or if they just want to go inside and preen or snack or have a drink, that's fine too. But it's got to be a balance of not just expecting them to be out and behave all day, because parrots don't do that. That's something that they are very bad at, is behaving nicely. In terms of their diet, a lot of people think that you can just go to your local pet shop and buy a bag of seed and that will do your bird, and that's absolutely the wrong attitude to have. Seed can be a really important part of your bird's diet if you're picking the correct seeds. However, a diet should be made up of fresh vegetables, a small amount of fruit, some sprouted seeds, a small amount of nuts, some pellets perhaps if you pick the right pellets, and it should all be a balance. It shouldn't just be seeds, it shouldn't just be pellets, it needs to be a real balance. Now, there are also a lot of pellets on the market that are really, really poor quality. In fact, 99% of the pellets on the market are really poor quality. The ones that I use with my birds are Tops pellets, but there are some out there with big name brands who say they're vet recommended. However, they are based on wheat, soy and corn, which are really nutritionally poor and totally pointless in your bird's diet. And also a lot of them have added sugar and salt, which I think is a bit crazy, because no bird needs sugar and salt in their diet unless they're getting natural sugars from things like fruit, which I give my birds usually 3 to 4 times a week. Now, if you've never heard of sprouting, or you've never tried it, or you're a bit apprehensive to try sprouting seeds, I've actually made a video on that too. There's going to be loads of videos linked to this one, all in the description, and cards up the top as well, so do have a read through. There's going to be extra information for you to help give your birds the best life possible. I'm just preparing the boys' breakfast, so I thought I'd bring you along with me to show you a typical kind of birdie breakfast. So I've got their bowls here. So first of all, I'm going to start off with a small amount of healthy seed. Now, there's a real myth that seed is totally bad and it shouldn't be in your bird's diet. It can be incorporated as long as it's balanced. And this is the Tidy Mix Budgie seed. I picked this one because it seems to be one of the healthiest seeds on the market. There's no sunflower seeds, no safflower seeds, anything like that. And it's all about just getting a small amount, sort of, I take about that much of a tablespoon, but I get about that much, Pop it in the boys' bowls. They've got 2 bowls, but they still try and fight over the same bowl because it's brothers for you. So there's the healthy seed. Next up we've got their chop. I mix up the vegetables I use in the chop every single week. This particular week we've got red bell peppers, broccoli, green beans and baby corn. So there's a real mix of vitamins and minerals. A good rule of thumb is to get a lot of colour in there, obviously as long as it's safe bird vegetables, because there are some that are quite toxic and poisonous to them. But these ones are all nice and safe. They also love carrots, chilies as well, and their leafy greens, which I'm going to show you next. So there's their chop in there. So leafy greens are a fantastic part of your bird's diet, and there's a real myth in particular about this one, which is spinach. Spinach is actually very good for your birds in moderation, like anything, but there's been a myth over the years that spinach is bad for your birds. So I'm going to link an article below about the kind of myths surrounding spinach, and hopefully you can get a better idea of what is good and bad for your bird. But as I said, spinach is good for them, so they're going to have this today. I'm just going to leave this on the plate for now, I think, because I'm going to try and thread it through the bars of the cage. And over here we've got some mango. Now the boys are not particularly keen on fruit, but I try and offer a little bit of fruit to them sort of 4 or 5 times a week. If I can pick it up because it's really slippery. So they'll have the mango there. So it's coming along quite nicely. So another great component for your bird's diet are sprouted seeds. This is what they look like. This particular mix has got mung beans and rice and lentils and all kinds of things in there. But sprouted seeds are fantastic for your bird's diet. They've got great protein in there, all natural and healthy. And also sprouting seeds unlocks loads of nutritional potential. So I love to have this as often as I can. I try and do it every day, but the sprouting process takes a bit of time. So this is what a typical birdie breakfast looks like. So you've got the chop, a little bit of fruit, some healthy seed, and the sprouts. And then of course I've got the spinach as well, which I said I'm going to thread through the bird's cage bars. Now I did mention all of that dust that cockatiels produce. There is a way to help get rid of some of that dust, although it is perfectly natural as I said, and that is through bathing. Now some cockatiels like to self-bathe, as did when they were small, but not so much nowadays. Some cockatiels, like mine, will prefer to be sprayed with a spray bottle. If your bird is a bit concerned about that, I've got a link to the Bird Tricks guys, and they have a video showing how you can train your bird to accept being sprayed with the spray bottle. Some birds also will like leafy greens that have been absolutely drenched in water and then put through the bars of the cage, and they're like rubbing themselves all over the water. So that's another way to get your bird to bathe. So have a little explore and play around, see what your bird likes. And as I said, if they're not quite sure, you can use positive reinforcement training to help them enjoy bathing, because it's great for their feathers as well. They should be having access to a bath usually a minimum once a week, ideally more, but it really depends on your individual bird. Now in terms of training, we do loads of different kinds of training with our birds. Chip here absolutely loves to problem solve. We trained him to do a trick where he has to pick up little toys and place them in a box, and he just loves it. I'm going to show you a clip of it in a second. They're both also fantastic flyers. My birds are not clipped, but I'm not going to get into that in this video because it's such a controversial topic. And as for Fish, who's just out of a shot, he's busy snacking. His main skill is flying around the room. He's fantastic. He's like a little Spitfire. He's just zooming around. But he also is fantastic at singing too. If you're getting a cockatiel because you want them to sing and whistle and chat away, that might not be the right reason to get one, because each individual is individual and you never know what they're going to turn out like. For example, when Chip was a little baby chick, he would chat away and sing and try all the different songs. Now he's a bit older, he's got 2 songs that he likes and he does them all day long. He does still chat, he'll talk to the Alexa and he'll say hello and things like that, but he doesn't really like to learn new songs. However, Fish loves to learn new songs. It's one of his favourite things, and he loves to practice as well just before bedtime. When he's a little bit tired and we've kind of turned on the light for them so they can start winding down for the evening, that's when he'll start singing away to himself, and it's very cute. He can also say hello in Alexa too, so it really depends on the individual bird. Some birds are absolutely amazing at singing and whistling, and particularly females don't normally whistle too much. Every cockatiel will do a flock call. Now, if you are bonded to a bird and you leave the room, they will do noises like this, and they'll just want you to kind of communicate back to them and say, you know, where are you? Are you okay? And you can either whistle back or chat to them so they know where you are and what you're up to, and it kind of gives them a bit of reassurance. The boys do it for us, but because they've got each other, they're not as sort of stressed or concerned about where we are, but they are still bonded to us, as I said. But every cockatiel has the potential to be noisy, so if you're looking for a quiet pet, I wouldn't say that cockatiels are quiet. They're definitely quiet on the scale of parrots. They're definitely not like, you know, macaws or cockatoos, but they are still able to be quite noisy, so just bear that in mind on your kind of living situation. So the next important thing to talk about is sleep. Now, any parrot species should be getting 12 hours of uninterrupted dark sleep every single night. Now, it does sound like a lot, but it's what they need, and if you don't give them enough, it does often produce hormonal behaviour, and hormonal behaviour is very challenging. It's when they start trying to make nests everywhere, they can be a bit more aggressive, a bit noisier, and with females it can lead to chronic egg laying. So giving them enough sleep gives them time to rest, and it reduces the likelihood of hormonal behaviour. We are in the breeding season at the moment, so there are still instances of hormonal behaviour, as we see in all of our flock, and that is normal, but to kind of reduce it and keep it on a manageable level, giving them enough sleep is really important. Now, talking about sleep, maybe one of the only downsides of having cockatiels is they are prone to something called night frights. I've spoken about this a lot on my channel, but for anyone who's unfamiliar, night frights are where in the middle of the night, your cockatiel, for a reason or no reason at all, will all of a sudden start frantically flapping around the cage, getting themselves caught on things, knocking about, and generally causing a bit of a scene. And it's very scary for you and for your cockatiel. Now, there are ways of getting around this, and that's eliminating some of the triggers that cause night frights. It could be having noisy neighbours like we have, it could be car lights passing by the window, it could be their own feathers falling out if they're molting, maybe a toy isn't quite in place and it falls down in the night, something like that. But sometimes there's no obvious reason. One of the ways to try and help with night frights, firstly, is to kind of treat your birds like a newborn baby. You don't want them to be used to sleeping in complete silence. You want them to be a bit of background noise, so any kind of noise or bump in the night isn't going to suddenly shock them because they're used to sleeping in complete silence. The other thing that we do is provide night lights. We have one plugged in on the mains, but if there's a power cut, we also have a couple of rechargeable ones, so like USB ones. We've got this really cute little chick one, and then we also have a bear as well as like a backup. And having a bit of light in the room, not too much that they can't sleep, but some light means that they can see, if they kind of get a little bit spooked in the night, they can see that there's nothing going on, there's no predators, there's nothing untoward, and it calms them down a bit more. If they're in total darkness, it's a bit more scary. They kind of need that reassurance and to be able to see that everything's okay. Now, the last thing I wanted to touch on is vet visits. Vet visits can be very stressful for your birds, so I highly recommend investing in a travel cage and training your bird to get used to a travel cage, because if you're kind of just shoving them in an emergency to get to the vet, it could make the situation very stressful. The other thing I'd say, which hopefully would be obvious to some, but if you're not sure, this is some good information for you. You can't just take your cockatiel, or any bird for that matter, to a normal dog and cat vet. They need to see an avian specialist because there are so many different ailments that are specific to birds that people who, or vets who treat dogs and cats, may not be aware of and may not pick up on a routine exam. It is hard to find avian vets and you may find yourself travelling for some time, but it is essential. It's also worth noting that they are expensive, as most vets are anyway. For example, we once had to take Chip to the vet. He's fine, but we had to take him, and just for a routine exam was £60, and that's without any medication, any treatment. So it's worth mentioning that parrots are an extremely expensive type of pet, and that is why they are the most #1 rehomed pet in the world, because they are expensive and because they're difficult. Now hopefully this video hasn't put you off getting a cockatiel if you're really got your heart set on having a cockatiel, because they do make amazing pets when they're not clawing up your head or covering you in feather dust, or you're waking up at 5 AM because they want to scream because it's breeding season. But they do make amazing pets and they are really loving and special and fantastic. So if you have any other questions about having a cockatiel as a pet, please leave them down below. I'd love to chat to you and answer any other questions you have. But from Chip and Fish and I, who are really being a bit inquisitive, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic week, and take care and see you later.